In the 21st century, filmmakers started introducing new twists on the classic Frankenstein story. In 2009, Canadian filmmaker Vincenzo Natali created a Frankenstein-esque story, but this time about a married couple creating life, weaving in Oedipal themes of sexual desire, violence, parenthood, and even familial love triangles. In 2014, Alex Garland made his directorial debut with a similar three-hander about creating life. This explored AI and the parallels between man and machine, and the film feels more prescient now than ever before.
Stop. Ava, I said stop.
Join me as we continue exploring the evolution of man-made monsters, and we discuss Vincenzo Natali's Splice and Alex Garland's Ex Machina. Welcome back to the evolution of horror. My name is Mike Muncer, and as ever, I am your host. In this podcast, we explore and dissect the history and the evolution of the horror genre, one subgenre at a time. We are currently in the middle of our 11th season exploring the evolution of man-made monsters, and this is part 28. We've reached the 21st century. We're on the home stretch towards the end of the season now, and in this week's episode, as that intro suggested, we are going to be looking at two kind of slightly queasy, sleazy Frankenstein-esque stories, Splice from 2009 and Ex Machina from 2014. Both of these discussions will be spoilerific. Give them both a watch before you listen to our discussion. So, joining me to discuss these two bangers, I've got a returning guest with me. She's been on the podcast a whole bunch of times, and of course, she is my regular Fresh Blood co-host over on Patreon, our resident book expert, Steph McKenna. Hello, Steph.
Hi, Mike Muncer.
Hello. This is lovely.
To see you.
It's lovely to see you. Obviously, we speak to each other every month over on Patreon and Fresh Blood, but it's been a while since you were here on the main podcast. I guess, was it Tremors? Was it when we were talking about Tremors?
Yeah, we did Tremors last year. It's like, I don't know, it's like doing a job interview. I'm like, I have to take things seriously when I do the main pod episode.
People often say this to me. They're like, oh, when I'm on the main podcast, I've got to take it really seriously.
It's so true. It's so true. It feels like you've got to get it right. No pressure.
We can't just be talking about rigid slipcases like we do over on Patreon.
God, not too many innuendos. I've got to restrict all of that kind of stuff to one per one per conversation.
Although having said that, Steph, we're talking about some icky, horny, sleazy science movies this week.
Precisely why I chose them.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I was like, can I do these movies, please?
Yes.
We're going to go to some pretty dark places, I think.
I think so. Well, let me ask you, before we get into these two films specifically, they're both kind of interesting sort of modern twists on the kind of Frankenstein myth a little bit, right? So let me just ask you generally about that type of a story, the kind of mad scientist story. Are you a fan of that?
Yeah, I am, I'm a bit of I'm a wanky artsy literature girly at heart, but I have a lifelong fascination really with anything to do with the body and biology and zoology. It's my mum's fault. She worked in a veterinary lab doing post-mortem.
Oh, wow.
Always talked about, I like knowing exactly what's going on with us, scientifically, how nature takes its course, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm really fascinated by those meaty, ethically messy questions that are explored in a lot of these films.
Yeah.
And big fan of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, of course.
Oh my God.
Studied it, dreamt of being her when I was younger, all of those things. So yeah, really invested in how that story has kind of evolved and transformed over time, but always remained the definitive story of man versus monster, hasn't it? And sort of
amazing, isn't it? Amazing that it still feels relevant and important, right, to horror, to sci-fi, to everything. Like the fact that even right now as we record this, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is nominated for several Oscars. What is it about that story, specifically Frankenstein, that is so kind of enduring, do you think?
I think it's the man versus God, really, and it's what makes this entire subgenre so enduring. I think it taps into a very real anxiety that is timely and timeless. So whether it's war and the atomic bomb or the creation of the internet, I think we're quite content with letting our intellectual inquisitiveness sort of run unchecked. And, you know, we've always been preoccupied with being the ones to make things better, more advanced, faster, you know, taking control of the things out there that are naturally out of control for us. And I think something like Frankenstein really, you know, you boil it down and we're obsessed with playing God. We have a very fragile sense of self. Like our sense of who we are now, of course, in the modern context, inside and out, is totally fragmented because of things like the internet. But even back then, when, you know, Mary Shelley was writing things like this, I think we just have to conquer, and we have to be the ones to conquer those things. So yeah, it makes me angry, really. Actually, the whole as much as I love this genre, I find it so stressful because.
Yes.
It just makes me very cross. Like, we just can't leave shit alone, can we?
We can't leave shit alone, particularly men, right? There is something particularly about men in this subgenre. There's a reason I call it man-made monsters, because it really is a lot of the time. Like, the character of Dr. Frankenstein is a bit of a dick, isn't he? Let's be honest.
He's a total narcissist. Like, he's having we're all having an existential crisis. Sure, we always will be. But yeah, it's the absolute narcissism, and misogyny, and the God complex of mankind. And we've got to push it to the limit. We've got to control it. And apparently we've got to have sex with it, Mike. That is. And it makes me angry. But also, at the same time, you know, so many of the films on, you know, that you've covered so far, that I was looking over your list, you know, this genre, this crossover between science fiction and horror breeds absolute batshit madness at the same time, doesn't it? So there's so much fun to be had. Yeah. Because the rules are so elastic and things get very silly and very sleazy and very camp. Yes. So you got to love it too.
Absolutely. It's a real fun mix, actually. This series has been a real fun mix of, like, campus Christmas kind of silly B-movies and then, like, really dark existential stuff as well, right? And I think the best of these movies kind of juggle both, I think. How are you good with technology yourself, Steph? Does technology scare you? How do you feel about AI?
Well, I'm recording a podcast about movies, so I can't be that anti-technology. But
good point.
I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, we're a similar age, so having lived through a childhood that featured television and, you know, we were introduced to computers, house telephones, but we weren't, especially our younger years, weren't dominated by social media and AI and sort of, you know, handheld devices all the time. I have a kind of weird relationship to it, really. And, you know, so you're forced to be on it. You have to be part of it. But I can quite happily leave it to the side as well. And it's sort of strange and sad to see how important these things are to our identity now. And to language in particular, for me, is like it's a really strange thing, especially, like AI and the way that it's not just, for me, I just want it to be a grammar and a spell check. Maybe it's like an easy encyclopedia sometimes, but it's just mind-boggling how quickly things have grown, even in the past few years, and our unique voices are being absolutely sort of steamrolled and flatlined. Yeah. And that ability, you know, as humans to learn by trial and error is sort of just disappearing. So it's kind of, you know, working in a creative industry as well, like you do, there's a lot of concern about AI-supported content in publishing. And I just, it is worrying. But I also try and be a bit not too fatalistic. There's so much of our lives that occur in a cycle that I've learnt that, you know, nothing stays the same. Yeah. And I sort of hold on to the hope that AI won't be in vogue forever. Yeah. And that it can't do everything. And that actually it probably sounds really naive, but you've just got to stay hopeful that maybe it will become sort of blasé, or it will work itself out of our system.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go back to being really analog, and we'll just...
I feel like that's already happening, especially with sort of our generation, right? We're all embracing just like vinyls and physical media and things again.
So true. Yeah. I'm in marketing, so, like paper. There was a whole window of time where it was like, don't print anything, don't make brochures, no one wants them. And now it's like everyone's craving it.
Everyone wants that
really
paper.
Things.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
People are getting Tamagotchis again. I think some people are going back to like brick phones rather than iPhones,
Yeah, let's just get rid of the internet. Let's just go back to candles and
tell stories around the fireside. Yeah,
Can't
let's
wait.
do it. Let's
Perfect.
do it. Amazing. Right, well, let's talk about these two absolutely insane movies, starting with one of the most bonkers films that we're covering this series, I think, Splice. Vincenzo Natali's Splice from 2009. Steph, just set the scene for us, first of all. Tell us what this movie is all about.
Okay, so this movie is about Clive and Elsa, great names, who are genetic engineers who work together at a company called Nucleic Exchange Research and Development, aka NERD. They are also romantically involved, which is great because couples who work together never present any issues.
Sure.
Just there's
nothing
ever goes wrong.
Nothing could go wrong.
Nothing ever goes wrong when you're having sex in the workplace. And their job is to splice the DNA of different animals to create new hybrid creatures, which can potentially be used, in pharmaceuticals to cure conditions like Alzheimer's. But of course, this isn't enough. They are reaching for greatness, and they want to, or rather, Elsa wants to introduce human DNA into the mix to see what happens. Clive says no. The company says no, mainly because it doesn't have a positive impact on their profit margins. But Elsa secretly goes ahead anyway and splices together this human-animal hybrid to, devastating and really uncomfortable, icky results.
Agreed. Do you know what? I hadn't seen this movie in absolutely years. I think I saw it when it first came out, sort of 2009, 2010. And I remember really enjoying it. But there was a lot about it that I had forgotten about.
Yeah.
Right? What's your kind of history with this movie, and what do you think of it generally?
I'm the same as you. I haven't seen it since it came out. So 2009, I was working in Blockbuster, so I remember the cover.
Oh my God.
I remember the cover vividly because this is how I remember most films, is what the cover looked like.
I didn't know you worked at a Blockbuster. That's so cool.
Oh God, yeah, for years. Yeah, great place to work, minus the sort of slightly stale BO smell, but and some creepy colleagues, but that's another story. So I remember the cover. I remember watching it when it came onto shelves then, and I can't remember much. I could remember the big thing,
the creature.
I can remember the creature. Yep. I can remember that happened. I knew that it dealt with transgenics. So I was really intrigued to rewatch it because it felt almost like watching it anew again, and I was interested to see if it actually had anything to say, because I sort of, in my head, it was a kind of schlocky B-movie, silly thing that is basically a bit shit. I actually don't think it's as bad at all as I remember. I think it's quite fun, really, isn't it?
It is. It's super watchable, isn't it? Yeah. And I think the thing that makes it so interesting is that, like, the journey it goes on, like, every time I thought it had got as crazy as it could get, it just kept going.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was I remember, as I'm sure you do, that Adrian Brody has sex with their daughter creation. Like, I remembered that scene quite clearly from... That's the bit, right? And I remembered that scene from 2009. I sort of thought that's as crazy as it gets, but it gets really fucking weird.
That
it's
final
creepy.
Act is...
These two characters are creeps in their own ways, right? And actually, they make it really fun and interesting, I think.
Yeah, so much so. And I was sort of... I watched it with Wes, my partner, as well, and we were so poised... He hasn't seen it before, and we were so poised for that Adrian Brody scene.
Yeah.
But actually, the whole thing is really iffy and off. Mm-hmm. And I think watching this as someone who is an adult in their late 30s and as someone who was a young adult when this film was released, it feels very 2009.
Oh, it does.
And actually, part of my discomfort was that it taps into a cultural aesthetic that I think many of us would rather forget, aka the this is the H from Steps moment, Mike. This is the wrong Ian Watkins. But
wrong Ian Watkins.
The sweepy hair and the deep V T-shirts that no one needs to bring back. The checkered outfits.
The Lost Prophets look is what you're talking about, right?
Exactly that. So that with hindsight, felt deeply upsetting for the entire duration of the film.
Yes.
Questionable interior design, all of those sort of markers that just, the whole thing actually made me feel really, really weird. And Wes was sort of like, the entire time. Yeah,
it's icky. The whole thing is icky, isn't it? In a really interesting, unique way. The movie was a complete flop. Like, it had a 30 million budget. It only grossed about 27 million. So it really bombed. And actually, I'm kind of surprised. Like, why do you think it bombed so badly? Like, is it just too much? Is it too weird for mainstream audiences?
I think it's too uncomfortable. I do.
Yeah.
I think
because it's like in some ways it has a fair amount going for it. Like, it's a fairly glossy movie with a cool creature. I think Del Toro was involved tangentially, right?
I think he exec produced it, which makes sense, obviously, monster shagging.
The monster shagging. And this is the era when Del Toro, really was like a stamp of approval. Like, they would put his name on posters for things, didn't they, all the time? And so it starred, Oscar-winning from the pianist Adrian Brody, right? Like, I mean, again, like he was I think the world record holder at the time for the youngest ever Best Actor winner, right? Like he was a kind of big deal.
Yeah.
So in a way, this movie feels like it should have had more going for it, but nobody saw it.
And it's like quite well paced, and the effects really aren't that bad. Like, some of the practical effects have kind of held up. And there's two things that really stuck out for me, and I think it is a discomfort thing. I think, firstly, obviously the psychosexual and incestual elements. It's all a bit Woody Allen, isn't it? But I think that's a sticking point for people.
It is a bit Woody Allen. It's true. I think it was too much for people. That's it.
It was
stuff.
too much.
Yeah.
And also, I think, and I'm sure we'll talk about Dren more later, but unlike something like, Jurassic Park or whatever, some of the other more human-like monsters that you've covered, there is something very human about her, physically and obviously biologically and intellectually. But it's very uncanny at the same time.
Yes.
So I think it's very uncomfortable looking at her. You sort of, you sort of empathise and understand, but also don't. So, and there's all these questions around, sort of consent and abuse of power, because actually, if she has this level of consciousness, surely she has some human rights. And it's just...
Yeah, a bit grim, isn't it, that stuff?
It's just nasty. And actually, Elsa, as a kind of, a creator and a mother, is somehow even more upsetting to me than Clive's character, but because of there's such a betrayal of trust with her and the way she treats Dren over a prolonged period. It's just... It's actually not a romp, is it? I was like, I thought it was going to be funnier than it was. It's actually not very funny.
It's quite
dark. It deals with some pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think that is why this movie didn't find an audience, because it's somewhere between being a fun, silly monster movie, mad scientist creates a monster movie, and some sort of weird psychosexual, incestuous kind of fucked up paedophilia type, whatever the fuck, That's
literally it. Even at the end, when you're like, it's sprouted some bat wings. Like, this is getting a bit B-movie. This is a lark. There's a rape scene.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? I know. So it just goes too... It goes too shocking, too grindhousey, doesn't it, I think, to be a mainstream hit. And that's why it is crazy to me that it's like a pretty glossy Del Toro-approved movie with Adrian Brody and Sarah Polley involved in it. Like, it's just such an interesting mix, isn't it?
I don't think it's that badly written, I think some of the dialogue's a bit clunky, but actually it's kind of solid if it wasn't going to such deep, dark places. And... I think what is the audience for this? It's a cult audience, isn't it? It's not a glossy Hollywood.
It's literally us, isn't it? It's literally us. Like, other than being played at kind of genre and horror festivals, I don't think this doesn't have a broad appeal,
No,
does it?
I couldn't find it on streaming either. It's just...
No, it's really, nowadays, it's really hard to get hold of in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really hard, yeah. An interesting little curio of a film. Vincenzo Natali, this kind of Canadian director, what do you think of the way he directs this movie? He had already previously made Cube, which was that really kind of interesting, striking horror movie from the 90s, right?
Yes.
It was kind of very super low budget. He had the different rooms inside the sort of giant Rubik's Cube, and it was all traps and things, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was almost a bit pre-Saw. What do you think of him as a director and the job he does in this movie?
do you know what? I can't remember. I have seen Cube, but I can't remember it, and very much.
Yeah, I mainly just remember vivid colours. It's like a green room and a red room.
I can remember the front cover again from my Blockbuster days. I think in terms of the direction, you can clearly see the lineage of the monster movies that came before this. Like, I'm sure, you've talked about so many films in this subgenre as Frankenstein-esque, but it is a Frankenstein film. You can see the parallels with Shelley's novel, and even the sort of parent-child relationship really is a bit sort of Victor Frankenstein, his monster, and you can see the influence of like David Cronenberg in terms of the bodily violation, the sexual taboo, really, like everything from sort of The Fly to Dead Ringers.
Absolutely. And I think he has cited Cronenberg as one of his main cinematic influences. And you can you're right, this feels super Cronenberg.
Yeah, and like we said, like my memory was of something more... I mean, it is controversial, but more like silly and flagrantly controversial. And there are definitely moments in this that really push the bar. But it is actually, I think it's much more balanced as an entire product. Like, it feels more like a psychological thriller for a good 2/3 of its runtime, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. And I think actually what makes it so interesting is that it's a Frankenstein. It is basically a Frankenstein story, except that instead of just one male mad doctor, it is a married couple pair of doctors, right? It's a male and a female. And that is so important to this story, isn't it? It's like you said, we've got a couple in the workplace. And it is like basically a toxic workplace relationship drama where they also create their own sort of weird love child, right? And it's like all the shit that surrounds that kind of like more female energy to these two as well, and the fact that, like you said, actually Elsa might be even more of a kind of fucked up character than Clyde is something that adds a new dimension to this kind of Frankenstein story.
For sure, yeah, she's definitely the dominant one of the pair, isn't she? And the scientific institute and the lab and their sort of weird dysfunctional unit of the three of them, including Dren, it sort of doubles as this dysfunctional home life, and this weird family, which really hammers home that ethical dilemma of creating a creature that's part human or has human-like qualities out of selfishness. I thought the beginning really was quite striking because the scientific environment is so much like a maternity ward. Like, you've got like the computers and the test tubes and someone cutting the umbilical cord, and they're there with like a video camera, like they're proud parents. Like, there's no professionalism there, even from the outset, which is why it feels even more uncomfortable. So it is, as you say, it is a Frankenstein story, but it really blurs the sort of the emotional and the scientific boundaries, and it brings that the feminine energy, as you say, is a really good way of thinking about it. It brings Elsa and the mother to the forefront. I think one thing for me in terms of the direction that's a bit, I can't really make up my mind. Like, I've seen a couple of places where this was like labelled almost like a horror comedy, and I don't think it's intentionally funny at all. I think it's a sort of an uncomfortable kind of funny.
Yes.
But then I also remember that the lab is called Nerd and Dren eats Tic Tacs, and I just
and Dren is nerd backwards as well, right? And like, yes, you're right. It has some weird elements to it, and I was kind of thinking that consciously as I was watching it, because it does get so absurd that you think, is this supposed to be fun? Like, when he has sex with it, you do think, okay, how seriously is Natali taking this? Like, it's really hard to tell, actually, isn't it? Because, but what I really like about it, and the reason I think it works, is that it is played quite straight. Like those actors, Adrian Brody, who we know is a very serious actor, he was taking this very seriously, I think. You know?
I think he was, even with the sweepy fringe and the I don't know, Hugs t-shirt, or whatever it was, Hugs Not Drugs, or God, it's just disgusting.
Yeah. So you're right. So that is what almost pushes it into camp, true camp, because they are, I think, playing it straight, even though it is super absurd what is happening. You know. But I can't quite make up my mind about it, about whether Natalie is, like you say, is going for a kind of comedy or not. I don't know. I don't know if he is.
No, my sense is that he's probably not. But also, what some of those little moments are kind of
really interesting,
just ridiculous.
Yeah, really weird. What do you think of these two central performances then, Clive and Elsa, played by like the now pretty well-known Sarah Polley and Adrian Brody? Right? What do you think of these two?
They're big actors.
They're pretty big
like,
names, right? They're pretty respected names as well.
Yeah, I don't know how Adrian Brody ended up in this. Like, fucking wild. He's
done a few weird roles, though, hasn't he? Do you remember when he was in The Village as well?
Yeah,
that was weird.
It's a bit of a spotty filmography, isn't it? I think he did Fantastic Mr. Fox the same year as this, which is
he does a lot of Wes Anderson,
a real combo.
Yeah.
Busy 2009. I mean, the performances are pretty strong, actually. And as you say, like playing it straight, kind of, they're good performances. I think, as you said, a couple, as characters, Clive and Elsa, as a couple that work together intimately, is clearly a recipe for disaster from the beginning. But I think, because they are both genetic engineers or scientists, we expect them to be quite aligned in their outlook, I think, and quite analytical. But from the outset, I think you can tell that they're both sort of separately affected by quite deep emotional biases that mean their behaviours deviate quite quickly. And you've got, Mr. Drugs Not Hugs over there, who almost plays, to begin with, the more conscientious, responsible, morally grounded one. You know, he's against the DNA experimentation with humans. He keeps, the number of times he says there are moral considerations. It's like, that it just, but there are moral considerations. He wants to start a family. Elsa is more resistant. I think she's the more interesting character of the two.
Well, she's the madder one, right?
Yes.
Like, she's definitely the one.
She's the mad scientist.
She is, in a way. And I was trying to work out, and I wanted to ask you about this, because there is a slight element of, okay, the dude is the much more sort of ethical, by the book scientist who is thinking about the moral implications, whereas she, from the get-go, as soon as she creates this life, she becomes like mad mother, right? And like locks herself in the room with this creature and is breaking all the rules, and is and basically turns into like maternal monster from the very beginning, doesn't she? And of course, really, she's the one that kind of creates all of this, because it turns out that she illegally put her own DNA into this thing as well, right? So like, what's her deal? She wanted to create her own sort of daughter from the very beginning? Yeah,
there's this sort of, it kind of touches on this backstory, doesn't it? That she, on the one hand, or at least she wants to kind of position herself as quote unquote an important scientist. So, she's driven by, scientific inquisitiveness, by her profession, driven by ego somewhat, important scientists do great things like this. She desires greatness. But at the same time, there's this whole like backstory that's slightly peppered in there, where she had a sort of quite dysfunctional relationship with her own mother, and her mother was sort of quite mentally unstable and abusive, and so Elsa herself felt quite sort of imprisoned, and she couldn't trust her own mother because of this erratic behaviour. So there's sort of her aversion to having a child, a biological human child with Clive, seems to be, maybe in part a result of this traumatic childhood and of her sort of distrust of the traditional maternal figure, I guess. But then when Dren arrives, she injects herself into Dren in the first place, and then she seems to slip into that maternal role so easily.
Yeah.
And there's a deep-seated need there maybe to reclaim control of her childhood, or there's something more, again, sort of psychoanalytic going on with...
It's almost like she's like... It's like she's doing an experiment on herself almost, right? It's almost like she wants to test the waters of being a mother to see if she can do it without turning into her own mother, I guess, like some sort of abusive figure or something.
And in a very controlled environment, like she can control everything if it's born in this lab, whereas at home, it might, who knows what could happen. She could lose control completely. So, it's definitely like weird.
Well, it's really weird because also within about 10 minutes, she's gone from being this like having this very motherly bond with Dren to like tying her up and mutilating her and cutting off her tail, right?
Horrible. It's so fucking horrible. That's the worst bit. It is
really fucked
up that she can, and poor Dren, I guess, can't make head nor tail of whether she can trust this person. And as an audience member, as a viewer, it's like, you just can't work her out. It's like, can you trust her? Can you not?
It's a really absurd kind of grotesque version of parenthood, isn't it, this movie? So you've got the mother that kind of ticks all of the kind of maternal stereotypes in films, whether it's like starting off as the kind of kind, maternal, caring, protective one, to then becoming like mummy dearest, essentially, right? And to then becoming like just like Margaret White from Carrie or something. Like, and then you've got, meanwhile, you've got the guy that is the reluctant one at the beginning, and actually... he essentially tries to kill it when it's a baby, right? Like he holds it underwater and he claims it so that, it will become amphibious, but it's like, no, he just wanted to kill it, right?
That was just a stroke of luck, really, wasn't it? Like,
so there's this almost like kind of weird Oedipal thing going on where it's like he sort of wants to kill it, but then he ends up wanting to fuck it. And it's like, again, it's like these are just these two... almost like archetypal, monstrous, grotesque parents, aren't they, in a way?
Yeah.
They go through the whole gamut really quickly.
They literally try on every outfit. It's like, what are we today? It's pretty ick. It's
pretty ick, isn't it? It's pretty ick. Well, let's talk about Dren then. Like, the design of Dren, the performance of Dren. What do you think? When it's first born... and it's like a little thing hopping around. There's almost a bit alien to it, right? There's a bit H.R. Geiger. There's a bit like face hugger. The moment when it's in the sort of room and it's locked in and it's kind of scuttling about, right? You're like, oh God, it gave me face hugger vibes. But then, of course... I actually, and this is repeating a conversation we had about Eraserhead once upon a time, Steph, I actually found it quite cute, and I don't know if I should have found it cute. What did you think of little baby Dren?
It is a bit cute, isn't it?
Okay, good. It's not just
I can't wait to name my firstborn Dren. Why is it not higher up in the baby name dictionary? Honestly. Dren. Awful name. There's probably someone called Dren listening to this who's going to send you a really angry email after this.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Face hugger vibes to begin with, scuttling around, and then we find that she ages at this accelerated rate, and she's much more intelligent than they anticipated. She's monstrous. Yes, she's got amphibious lungs and a poison-tipped tail and all of this kind of, retractable wings for good measure. But there's something also very human-like about her, and very throughout it, actually, even later on, something very childlike about her. And she has that, it made me think of, it was the uncanny valley effect, of like the use of effects and the way she's sort of physically presented. She's human-like, but she's not quite right, because she's very symmetrical in the face, isn't she? But also her features are quite far apart.
Yes.
So you're kind of looking at someone you sort of identify with, but it's also a little bit off, which gives it that uncanny that uncanny feeling. But also, as she gets older, she's definitely sexualized too. Like, they give her a rack. Like, she's got boobs. Like,
big time. And that is a big part of the plot, right? That she becomes very sexual in the latter half of the film. She becomes quite horny, doesn't she?
She does. And you feel sorry for her because, you know, she is a sympathetic figure because of her humanness and because, like Frankenstein's monster, like, she didn't ask to be created in the way that she has been, and she's sort of like the spiritual twin of Seth Brundle in The Fly in a way. Like, you know, can't help it. I guess it's nature versus nurture. You know, she sort of grows slightly into the mirror image of her parents because the only two people she has to have in contact with are Clive and Elsa. Yes. So, you know, she watches them have sex. They have sex in the office in this really horrible scene. She's watching it, which is also very uncomfortable. And you think, well, yeah, you know, she's quite sexualized, but did that come from basically watching them do that?
Right.
You know, she has this desire to look more typically human and to sort of dress human and interact like a human. You know, that's quite learnt behaviour. She's sort of groomed in lots of respects.
Yeah.
But also she has that biological imperative, actually, to breed and to fuck and to kill and to survive.
She does. And she has, and it's kind of, she has like human hormones. It's like she goes through a sort of puberty, doesn't she?
She's there's a lot of this film, she is like a teenager, isn't she?
Yeah.
Even when she has sex with Adrian Brody, it kind of feels like she might still be a teenager.
Oh, definitely.
Like,
she's basically like a sort of equivalent of like a horny 16-year-old or something at that point, right? Why does Clive have sex with her? That is the weirdest part, right? And again, this movie is, you almost have to take the whole thing as like a giant metaphor for like a grotesque version of a nuclear family or something, almost, right?
Why do men do that, Mike Muncer? I just don't know.
When he pulls his little horrible 2000s jeans down over his butt, and I was like, I don't need to see... No one needs to see Adrian Brody do this.
I don't need to see him hump. That is... It's too much.
She's played by a couple of different actresses, Dren. So young Dren, child Dren, is played by an actress called Abigail Chew, and then adult Dren is played by a French model called Delphine Chagnac.
No wonder we think she's so hot, yeah.
It's a silent performance, obviously. There's no dialogue from her, right? So it's all very kind of movement-based. And, I mean, she is amazing. I think it's an excellent performance of this Dren character, right? It
is very, especially when she gets older and she is sort of has that sexual awakening. She is very feminine, isn't she? She's very sort of graceful in lots of ways. And it feels like everything she's doing is then built to kind of seduce. And, you know, she grows, it's that classic kind of Oedipal complex of growing jealous of her mother.
Yes, completely. Exactly. It gets very Oedipal, doesn't it? Like it
does.
You know, and again, it is kind of like a sped up version of the stereotypical kind of family dynamics, which is initially the father doesn't have the connection when it's a baby. And then as the girl becomes a teenager, drifts apart from her mother, becomes much closer to the dad. Like,
it's a daddy's girl.
Before she then turns into a man and rapes her mum. You know, the usual.
I'm waiting for that bit. I haven't reached that point in my lifespan yet.
No, exactly. It's, So, I mean, I think Dren is a really interesting character. I think when it's at its best is that kind of middle portion of the film, when it feels a little bit more human.
For sure.
And it gets so insane in the final act. Like, I completely forgot that she sprouts wings and then turns into a bloke.
So did I. I didn't expect... I'd completely forgotten that. And then about 3 seconds before she pins Elsa down, I was like, oh, fuck, I know where this is going. Like, shit. I'd sort of blocked all of that out as well. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe it's just trauma. We're just blocking it out, aren't we?
I mean, does that moment feel earned, do you think, when that happens towards the end? Because it is a bit out of nowhere, isn't it?
It turns into a different type. It feels more classic sci-fi horror monster creation, I think.
It feels like a B movie more, doesn't it? It feels like a grindhouse B movie, I think, when that happens. And I think maybe that is what Natalie is going for. You know, it's a weird mix of a kind of a movie and a B movie, I think. This film, you know?
Exactly. And it feels it feels kind of a bit like, ugh, as an audience member, you're just not expecting it at all, and it just feels like it's throwing everything at the wall at the end. But I guess also at the same time, why it happens, if our, our biological imperative is to breed, then I guess it wasn't working.
What you're saying, Steph, is life found a way.
Yes,
right? Life
it did.
And in the words of Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, this is like how the dinosaurs can switch from male to female in Jurassic Park, right? Or female to male. Dren has also found a way, essentially.
Nature wins. Clive clearly let her down in the sack, and she's like, I'm going to give the other one a try.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also the ultimate Oedipal fuck you, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be like, fuck you, mum.
I guess
literally.
I guess that's what. Exactly. Literally. I guess that's the other thing that this movie does quite well. It kind of like, because there were these other little two. Again, I found quite cute little creatures called Fred and Ginger. These little kind of sort of potato turds.
Bogies.
Yeah,
with,
exactly.
these little skin poos.
Skin poos, exactly. Who at the beginning are quite cute, and then there's an amazing bit that made me laugh out loud where they present them to a group because it's so over the top, right? They present them to a group, and these creatures just suddenly, again, they just change. Their whole nature changes, and they decide to fight and kill each other, essentially. And it's just like this massacre, isn't it? With blood everywhere and everything. So again, it's like, it's very much saying, like, it's kind of looking at the brutality of nature, isn't it, essentially, this movie, Yeah,
and you can try and manipulate that and try and control it, but I guess ultimately it's going to do what it's going to do, Mike.
It's going to do what it's going to do.
Some of it's not very nice.
Some of it's grim. And of course we end with Elsa pregnant, right?
It's very Cronenberg, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, she falls pregnant after everything she's endured, and what you'd hope she would have learned, really. She gets a second go around at her experiment.
Yes.
And she gets to be the god and the mother she wanted, I guess. And, what greater main character energy is there than being able to say you are the scientist that birthed an entirely new type of being. But I guess it also means that, she's kind of got this, sort of this dominant, almost anarchic attitude to begin with. She's kind of like, fuck what the company wants, fuck this is what I want to do. It kind of flew in directly in the face of, her partner and her employer.
Yeah.
But now she's being paid by the company to experiment further. So she's like a mother and a corporate bitch.
It's interesting, isn't it? And even that final sequence where she's sort of talking to the CEO woman or whatever she is.
She looks like Ghislaine Maxwell. It was all very...
Oh my God, she does, doesn't
she?
Yeah.
I was like, I know all of this is just, inference, but it just was making me feel worse and worse.
I know. It's such an interesting film. And not a bad film. I think everything that we're talking about, how uncomfortable and icky it is exactly, I think, what Natalie was going for in this,
Yeah, for sure. It's genuinely better than I remember. I've given it 3 stars on Letterboxd.
Lovely.
I think it's solid.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have given it... Yeah, I wouldn't have given it much credit before. And I don't think I would have recommended it. But actually, some of the visual language of the 2009s has aged quite quickly. But that murky mix of sort of, scientific curiosity and parent-child anxieties, all of that stuff, there's quite a bit there, actually, isn't there?
I like it. I like
it's kind of quite interesting.
I love a sort of fucked up family horror drama, like Hereditary, like anything where we're just like in a single space with a fucked up family. And that is essentially what this is. I mean, there are a couple of other characters that are barely worth mentioning, really. It's essentially a three-hander, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You've got Clive's brother that also looks like Clive. You've got 2 brothers with sweepy fringes, which is just a big red flag for me.
Yes.
But no, you're right. It's a three-hander.
Fun, really fun. Like, it sort of romps along, and every time you think it's gotten as bonkers as it'll get, it somehow pushes that one step further, I think.
Yeah, and I guess it's, it is timely in that when it came out in 2009, you know, there were lots of conversations. I don't think it had been long since things like the Human Genome Project and Dolly the sheep and things like, you know.
Yeah.
So actually questions of cloning and splicing and, you know, man-made creations that are, you know, cloning sheep or whatever. I mean, that was all very much in the public consciousness and being discussed. So yeah, I would watch it again. It's actually,
for sure, yeah.
I'm not going to call it fun. It's not fun, but it is. It's way better than I remembered.
I did sort of laugh a lot though, but I don't know whether that was uncomfortable laughter. You know, it was one of those, wasn't it?
There's a lot of uncomfortable laughter.
Yeah,
but you're right. That weird sort of like guinea pigs destroying each other bit in front of like an audience of old people was quite.
Yes.
That bit's good. Eating the Tic Tacs is good.
Tic Tacs
There's
is good.
A cancer bats on the radio jump scare that really spoke to me as a young person in 2009 that made me feel quite embarrassed. I
know, really funny. You're so right. And actually, while some of it does feel, you know, heinously 2000s, the effects, I think, hold up pretty well, don't they? Because of that mix of practical and CGI.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You can, I think it looked, watching it in 2020, where are we? 2026. Yeah, holds up way more than you'd expect.
Yeah, I think so. So overall, it's like,
oh my God, I can't believe this is our favourite film.
I know. Well, do you know what? It's what I like about it is that it's a kind of underseen little weird curio of a film, isn't it? Maybe because it's Canadian. Canada are great at doing
those Canadians.
They are great at doing like slightly off kilter horror and genre films, I think, you know, like no one's better at it than
they're making less noise. They're just quietly in the background doing some cool shit.
Some weird shit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love it.
Good for you, Canadians.
Good for Canada. Exactly. And, you know, couldn't fault the performances in this. I thought they were both really... And Sarah Polley is absolutely chewing the scenery, but she's brilliant. She's great.
She's all in, isn't she?
Yeah, she's all in.
She's all in, and I respect it.
Yeah. There you go. Incredible. Well, that's Splice from 2009. Let's talk about another essential three-hander, right? About two people creating life, essentially, but slightly different. Alex Garland's Ex Machina from 2014. Steph, just give us a little plot setup for this one.
Okay. Firstly, initially, I was like, what a strange combo, but amazing how many parallels there are between these two films.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that. But yes, so Ex Machina. You've got a young programmer called Caleb, who's played by Donald Gleeson, who works at Blue Book, which is this, you know, biggest search engine in the world. And he's picked by a workplace lottery to fly out to his CEO's remote home to take part in a scientific experiment. And there he meets said CEO, who is called Nathan, played by Oscar Isaac, who is this very cool, self-assured child genius who wants them to be buddies rather than, you know, boss and colleague. Mm-hmm. And Nathan tells Caleb that he's been developing the ultimate model in artificial intelligence. It's a female robot called Ava, and he wants Caleb to do the Turing test, which is a test to see whether she can pass as human and is capable of thought and consciousness. And whether, Caleb can basically distinguish her from a human being. And as Caleb starts to build this relationship with Ava, she warns him that nothing is what it seems and that Nathan can't be trusted.
Yes, indeed. So... Alex Garland, obviously, you know, your friend and mine. I think I've interviewed him 5 times. I think he's probably one of the people I've spoken to the most in terms of sort of genre filmmakers.
Really?
Yeah. He was obviously pretty well known already at this point. This is his directorial debut. But of course, he was more well known as being a writer. He wrote the novel The Beach, obviously, and then he did a lot of Danny Boyle collaborations. He wrote 28 Days Later, Sunshine. He wrote Never Let Me Go and Dread as well. But this is the first time he's coming on as a director-writer. What are your thoughts on Ex Machina, Steph? What do you think of it?
I fucking love this film. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I haven't seen it in a while. And I remember I watched this in Annihilation, which was his second directorial film, around the same time. And they're such a good sort of combo, aren't they? And I could remember Ex Machina on first watch being, it's a very cerebral experience.
Yeah.
But on rewatch, I sort of forgot how, for lack of a better word, how vibey it is as well.
Really
it's got
vibey.
like such a, it is, isn't it? It's got such a strong sense of setting through like the landscape and the house and the lighting and the score. It's really effective in sort of lulling you into this state of almost like thoughtful serenity, I guess. You're really taken, I think you're taken on Caleb's journey quite closely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's all these little details that feel really off. So you're kind of feeling like you can't quite relax like him, whether it's like a smashed piece of glass or a mask in a hallway or, any of these things.
Yeah.
And it's another example of a Frankenstein-esque story, of course. But I saw more parallels this time with Bluebeard, the story of Bluebeard's castle.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of giant palace with the locked rooms. It's got the forbidden lower level, the corpses of all his previous wives. So it really closely aligns to sort of the Bluebeard myth, which is really interesting.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. And the central performances, all fantastic. As you say, it's another three-hander. Oscar Isaac, like, fucking kills it as Nathan. Is just... Yeah, so creepy. Love the score. Ben Salisbury and Jeff Barrow have become quite regular Garland collaborators, haven't they?
Oh, the score of this film, I love it so
so
much.
drony.
It's such a vibe, isn't it? Yeah. Drony. Yeah, he does have this really interesting... I mean, I love it too, by the way. I think it's a really smart film. It's not my favourite Alex Garland, actually. I think I prefer Annihilation, personally. And I
think I might as well, but
yeah.
But on rewatching it, I do think it's really strong as a debut.
Absolutely. As a debut, it's because it's very simple, right?
Yeah.
Well, not simple in its ideas, but it's simple in what it's actually doing. It almost could be a Black Mirror episode, this film, right?
Yeah.
It's quite small and contained, and it's high concept and it's high on its ideas. And I guess if I have one, I don't know. This is what I'm going to be intrigued to talk about with you, because I think I hate the Oscar Isaac character so much that it almost hampers my enjoyment of the film, in how awful the kind of tech bro culture is in this film, and the treatment of the female robots in this as well is just so fucking horrible.
It is nasty.
And I'm fully aware that is the point.
Yeah.
But it does somewhat make me feel a bit like I start to get a bit eye-rolly with it towards the end. And I think that is only because I'm so sick of being trapped in the house with these characters.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. Yeah, totally understandable. Yeah. And also, his character is not existing in a vacuum for us. Like, we are so bombarded at this point by fucking Andrew Tate and fucking Elon Musk and all of these...
That's right.
CEO, super clever, apparently tech bro figures. I am sort of just exhausted by all of them.
Yeah.
So, but this film is kind of... Is it 26... Is it
2014.
2014. Yeah. So it kind of is ahead of the... I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this with other films this season, but it's sort of... This genre has this ability to be kind of one step ahead of reality in a way. And I know there are films before Ex Machina that obviously deal with AI, but it feels like quite an early entry into discussions of sort of this kind of AI and big data and...
Completely.
Tech bro culture and all of that. It's quite early days. That's not something that would have been very much on my radar at the time.
Totally. It feels very Silicon Valley kind of, this house in the middle of nowhere that you need to get to via helicopter and everything. You're right. This now almost feels like a cliche, right? This type of a character, because God, they are fucking everywhere in the real world. And you're right. I think Alex Garland, I mean, he's good at this. He's good at being quite ahead of the curve, right? What do you think of him just generally as a writer, Steph? Are you a fan of his work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've talked, as you say, we've talked about him a lot in Fresh Blood and in, Private Conversation.
He's had a lot of stuff. I mean, even the last few years, Men 2022, Civil War 2024, Warfare 2025, and then he's kind of taken a... I don't think he enjoyed directing very much. He was always very grumpy about it whenever he spoke to me. But it's one of the things I talk about quite a lot, but like I find it hilarious. He's a really nice guy. He's genuinely nice, but he is grumpy as fuck.
He's a grumpy boy, is he?
He's a grumpy boy, and I don't think he actually... And I think it's really sad but I don't think he enjoys directing very much. Like he when I spoke to him after, I think it was Civil War, he was just done with it. He was like, I'm not doing this again, And then I spoke to him for 28 years later, which obviously Danny Boyle directed. He just wrote it, and he was like, it was a bloody relief to he just loves writing, I think.
And
but
He's such a strong writer, isn't he? I mean, I do think he's a great director, so that is such a shame.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was going to say. Like, what a directorial eye he's got as well, right?
So much, yeah. And I don't always love his films, but they always ask something of us as a viewer, and they are always so ripe for analysis and debate, aren't they? And he is really excellent at creating a pervading sense of dread. Like Warfare freaked me out, actually, really freaked me out. And
Civil War as well. Civil War
God.
I found really harrowing.
Is it Jesse Plemons? That's Civil War, isn't it? Oh my God, absolutely blood curdling. It's horrible. So with Ex Machina in particular, we'd seen him, as you mentioned, flex his sort of speculative fiction writing skills with things like 28 Days Later and Never Let Me Go and Dread. And he's obviously very invested in dystopian narratives that sort of... He is. Interrogate that sense of self and charismatic leaders. He's obviously very interested in bad men.
He really is. I think he thinks that the world is fucked and men are awful. Yeah. I feel like that is like the even going back as far as 28 Days Later and that of the stuff when you get to the army base. Like that has been a kind of through line in his work, hasn't it? I think?
Yeah. And I was reading how, this is an original story, and he had like an interest in coding and machines and neuroscience, which began in childhood. So this is a lifelong interest for him. And I think you can see those directorial flourishes in this film that feel very Garland-esque now. You've got that, like, sterile environment and the use of sound design and the characters that are quite frustrated, like quite hard to connect to because they do feel quite distant, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Again, that is something that is a bit Cronenberg-esque, actually, and Brandon Cronenberg too, actually.
For sure.
There's a slight coldness to this film, isn't there, and a distance, I think, between us and the characters. Even Domhnall Gleeson's character of Caleb, who I think is supposed to be our kind of audience surrogate, right?
Yeah.
And yet even he... by the end, I don't feel connected to him as a character in any way.
No, it's almost like, as you say, if he enjoys being a writer, I think you can tell that he possibly is more interested in the intellectual response of an audience than the emotional one, perhaps.
Definitely. Because Annihilation, too, is quite a cold film.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot going on in that film. Lots to think about.
Lots to think about.
Makes my brain hurt. But, I think, actually, it makes sense that he feels more of an affinity with writing than directing. But lucky him, he's good at both of them.
He's fucking great at both. Like, this movie, and you've mentioned it already, but I think it looks exquisite, right? Like, I was watching it on my awesome telly that makes the room glow.
Oh, you got all the colours.
And this movie looked so good on that because my whole living room was like glowing red and blue and green and everything with all the different kind of cool lit rooms and everything. But what do you think of that kind of, again, almost grotesquely sterile set, right? Like that house. What do you make of it?
I love that. I'm obsessed with this house. Like, I'm obsessed by houses anyway, but it's my idea of hell, firstly. I'm a person with loads of shit. I've got loads of clutter. But it's so effective, isn't it, as a setting?
It is.
I think there's quite a lot of like architectural scholarship on this house, which shows how important it is as a space. And it's based on kind of real buildings and things like that. But imagine having all the money in the world and then deciding to plonk a like concrete prison in the middle of a beautiful landscape. It's, it's
horrible, isn't it? It's just so soulless, isn't it?
It is. It's very brutal and controlled and cold and soulless, as you say, in the middle of all this natural beauty. But that's, on the one hand, yes, it's probably what some men think is the height of architectural design. But at the same time, it's a prison, isn't it? It's a trap. It's an experiment. Yes. It's a big glass box full of mirrors and glass, which, gives the illusion of being quite open. But the lower levels are like a fucking nuclear bunker. Like, those bedrooms are like those weird, cheap hotel rooms you get in London that are like...
That is exactly what I thought. Do you know what? I hate those, like the sort of modern hotels you get now.
That don't have a window.
Have like touch... They don't have windows. They have kind of touch screen buttons that kind of change the lighting in the room. But it all feels like you're in some sort of sci-fi prison, doesn't it? It's horrible.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And then Ava's in this kind of fishbowl that's like an enclosure in a zoo right in the middle of everything, so she can be watched from every angle. And it's a very it is like a modern Gothic space. Like it's a Gothic castle, again, like Bluebeard's palace, mixed with like the spaceship in Alien. Like
it's like a really modern version of Jonathan Harker visiting Dracula's castle or something.
It is, isn't it? It's such a cool... There's so much to take from that space and the way it's designed and laid out, and like the use of lighting, and as you say, the use of colour when that red kind of kicks in. It's like, it's so oppressive. Actually, you feel like a rat in a maze.
You do, exactly that. And I suppose that is literally what these characters are, right? Like the whole thing. And Nathan has a line that says something like this, right? It's not just a home, it's a research facility, essentially. And that is like from the second Caleb arrives, he is just part of an experiment, right? Like the thing is, the experiment is in motion, essentially, and Nathan is kind of controlling the entire environment. So what do you think of Nathan as a character and that Oscar Isaac performance? Because again, this is relatively early in Oscar Isaac's career too. I remember seeing this in 2014. And I remember he had just done Inside Llewyn Davis, which was like a big breakthrough for him, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
But I remember this was just on the cusp of him sort of becoming a big deal, really, this movie.
I feel like maybe it was there for the first thing I'd seen him in, maybe, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible performance. As you say, it's horrible. And he is an archetype that we are all familiar with now. Like, it's like if Elon Musk and Andrew Tate had a baby, really.
Yeah,
it is. Did you see Murder at the End of the World? Did you see that TV show?
No, I never saw that, no.
Clive Owen plays a very similar figure in that, really. I mean, then again, that's in a very isolated space, like, out in the middle of God knows where.
Did you see, speaking of which, sorry to interrupt, Alex Garland's TV show Devs as well? Because that has a similar vibe to Ex Machina
very similar vibe, yeah. And again, he's like I hate to say it again, it's like a drinking game, but he is the modern Victor Frankenstein, isn't he? He's ironic, really, that you played him recently. He's this child genius who invents coding for his search engine when he was like 13 or something. And he is the product of giving men too much credit for being clever and too much wealth and too much unchecked power. And he, talks about fucking exercise and antioxidants, and he wears plain labels.
He treats his body like some sort of thing like some sort of scientific thing, right? He's like, right, I need antioxidants this morning. I need this, I need that. It's like everything is just like very scientific in his life in one way or another.
Yes, it's very controlled. Yeah, he's viewing it. There's no emotion there, is there? He obviously cast off any kind of morals he had a long time ago. He is now, his moral code is not there. He is highly manipulative and incredibly toxic, especially towards women, and he wants to present as that simple, laid back, relatable guy, can we just be two guys kind of thing. But it's it's off from the outset. It never feels genuine, does it? And for someone who is like seemingly, dedicating all of his time, his life to the development of AI, and that could be the single biggest development in scientific history, really. He's like really blasé about it. He's like,
yes,
he's not really interested in the life he has created, only in his sort of ability to test it. It's kind
that's what's kind of interesting about him, isn't it? Is that, like, obviously, clearly he is an incredibly lonely man, right? He lives in the middle of fucking nowhere by himself in this, like, castle. Until Caleb arrives, it's like, who does he have contact with other than his, like, sex bots that he creates, essentially, right? There's, like, no one that he has contact with. And he's far more excited about being a sort of cool, sexy dude bro than he is about changing the world with AI, right? Which, again, feels so ahead of its time, doesn't it?
Yeah, so true. Yeah, he wants a bro. Bros over hoes?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds so old when I say it like that.
It is very bros over hoes, though, his character.
It's actually bros before hoes, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's
so
right. We got it wrong.
Bros over hoes.
At first I thought she was mapping from internal semantic form to syntactic tree structure and then getting linearized words, but then I started to realize the model is some kind of hybrid.
Caleb?
No?
I understand that you want me to explain how Ava works, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Try me. I'm hot on high-level abstraction.
It's not because I think you're too dumb. It's because I want to have a beer and a conversation with you, not a seminar.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You're all right. Answer me this. How do you feel about her? Nothing analytical. Just, how do you feel?
I feel that she's fucking amazing.
Dude. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's like he really wants to make a good impression. He really wants to, be thought highly of, but he can also see the cracks in that persona straight away, can't he? The drinking.
Yes.
And I guess how much of, especially like the drinking and the kind of like, or, the sort of the dark side of him, it's like how much of that is real, how much of that turns out to be a bit of an act, like it all kind of remains to be seen.
And what about, do you know what he also, this is the first time I've rewatched this film post Succession, and there's a bit of Kendall Roy about
so much.
And also I was thinking of the Alexander Skarsgård character in Succession, and when they all go to Norway and they go to those like glass houses, there's a vibe of that, isn't there?
Yeah,
to this?
it's the same. It's the same archetype, isn't it?
It's the same world. It's the same type of man, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. What about Caleb though? Like, because obviously there's an element of him that is like, okay, he's the quote unquote the nice boy, essentially, right? And he is maybe potentially picked for this role and for this experiment because he is the nice guy. Is he a nice guy? Like, what do you make of him? What do you think?
He thinks he's a nice guy, doesn't he?
He thinks he's
so
nice
sure
boy.
He's a nice guy. He's interesting because he's, he's lonely as well. He's a lonely, quite isolated young man. Like, we learn that he had this car crash when he was younger and his parents were killed, and he survived it and sort of got into coding afterwards. So you get the impression that he doesn't have a very solid sense, unlike Nathan, who's presenting as someone who is very self-assured. He sort of doesn't have a very solid sense of self, and he was perhaps taken apart sort of mentally and physically by this accident, and he's got no parental steer, he's got no girlfriend, and he kind of, it's almost like he sees himself as talented and nobody at the same time. And Dom Gleeson's such a perfect choice for someone like him because he looks a bit lost, a bit blank, a bit pale, a bit skinny.
That's right. He plays these sorts of characters so well, doesn't he?
He does. No offence. He's very, very handsome man. But you're right. He's sort of he's supposed to be the moral centre of the film. He would think of himself as that. And he's quick to question Nathan's motivations and the ethics of what he's doing. He is the one saying, what are you going to do with Ava? He's really distraught at the idea that, she could be just cast off. But he's also, and he's very, because he's so emotionally inexperienced, I think he's open to manipulation from all sides, isn't he? From Nathan and from Ava. And he sort of tries to approach her from a scientific point of view, but he so quickly becomes entangled with her because of what he craves, which is a connection to another person and basically someone to be obsessed with him and validate him and make him. So, yeah, it's kind of, he's sort of, the sort of stereotype of what we'd expect some young men to be now when they enter into a relationship with ChatGPT or whatever. He's playing that, and he thinks he is, and his intentions I think are good, but he ultimately cares about Ava because she's meeting all of his needs, and they're very one-sided.
Absolutely, and there is an element of like nice boy turned toxic because I've been so nice to you and how come I'm now being rejected, you owe me. Yeah, exactly.
He's very happy. She asks a lot of questions about him, and I think he's very happy to talk about himself to her because finally a girl's listening. Exactly.
And she knows what she's doing, right? So let's talk about Ava, because again, breakthrough for Alicia Vikander, right? I mean, I think this was, again, one of her first kind of major roles as well. What do you make of Ava as a character, this kind of AI bot?
Her physical performance in this is so good, isn't it? I think it's brilliant. Like
oh my God, it's incredible.
Embodies that robotness so believably, but she also carries like a vulnerability and a femininity, which is purposefully designed to capture the empathy and the attention of a man I was going to say Clive. It's not Clive, is it? It's Caleb. And yeah, you can tell from first meeting that Nathan has designed her to be sexually attractive.
Absolutely. Like
the breasts and the waist and the face. Because apparently it's essential to being human. And she's a fetish object primarily.
Absolutely she is. He's even given her sexual organs, right? He's like, she's got plumbing down there, goes
into a lot of detail about that in a way it's just really strange. And, funny really, not that when you look at her, the parts of her that are solid are her face, her breasts and her butt.
Yeah.
Those are the important bits. Everything else is kind of like
it's
mesh.
Just connective tissue.
It's
so
like,
true.
These are the bits we're interested in. These are the bits that are going to be right. Everything else is kind of like, means to an end, really. So she's, and she, she's like Dren. She is highly sexualized, far more cognizant than perhaps expected.
Mm-hmm.
And it raises that question again of consent and of her rights and, whether it's right to trap her, to keep her, to control her. And I guess the twist in the tale is that she is a damsel in distress, yes, but there's a touch of the femme fatale about her in the end.
Yeah, there is.
There?
Absolutely. I guess that's what's interesting, isn't it? Is that all three of them play each other in different ways, right? So you think that Domhnall Gleeson meets this robot and falls in love with her and wants to set her free, right? And there are these moments when, and these great sessions they have, it's all part of the Turing test, essentially, right? To determine whether or not she has a genuine kind of consciousness. But then, of course, what happens is he ends up having an ulterior motive. There are these kind of like occasional power cuts, and that's when they think they're not being watched by Nathan, and he plans to kind of get her out, right? And then, of course, it turns out those power cuts are all planned and that Nathan is watching them while this is going on. And then, of course, it turns out that Ava is planning the whole thing in order to have her freedom and her escape, essentially, right? So they're all playing each other in different ways.
Yeah, and she sort of plays multiple... I guess she plays multiple female tropes that are designed and perpetuated by men throughout this. So she begins as that kind of manic pixie dream girl.
She does feel like an AI manic pixie dream girl, doesn't she?
She is. She's like, she might not have the kind of big bubbly personality, but she's young and she's cute and she's obsessed with him, and he sort of becomes the centre of her world, doesn't she? There's nothing else she's really got to give. And then she... and she's a damsel in distress. She needs rescuing, and then later she plays this manipulative femme fatale that has been playing her own game all along and is weaponizing the assets that she has in order to survive and to come out on top. It's fascinating.
And it's that classic thing of like, she has been programmed, she is smart enough to understand how to use her femininity, essentially, to get herself out of this situation, out of this prison, right? It is really interesting. And I think where it gets then really kind of icky is when we discover some of the other like robots, right, and previous models and everything as well. Because when we meet Kyoko, that is a big red flag, isn't it? Essentially, you know, this kind of like in-house attendant, housemaid / girlfriend / sex bot, whatever she is, you know. And that really creepy moment when you see the different models of the different women all like hanging in cupboards, essentially.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Like all of his cast-offs that weren't perfect, that didn't work out. That just, as you say, kept in this cupboard for, I don't know, later use, gathering dust. I think also what sits uncomfortably with that is that many of those past AI bots are not Caucasian.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, Kyoko is not Caucasian, and, you know, they are cast off as sort of second-grade domestic and sexual servants, really. And what Nathan is trying to achieve with Ava is this very, like, typical Western, you know, she's very, you know, she's quite young looking again, like Dren, like she looks kind of like a teenager.
Yeah.
And it is that kind of ideal that someone like him is trying to create. And and the way that he treats Kyoko,
Oh my God,
is just
hideous.
It's just minging.
Yeah, hideous.
It's gross.
Although I do like the dance sequence. Everyone likes the dance sequence.
Yes, and that's very Garland-esque as well, isn't it? Like a little needle drop in the middle of the fantastically choreographed. They must have spent ages on that.
And Oscar Isaac, I mean, this is the thing about him, is that like even when he plays absolute monsters, I really like him. I think he's such a good actor, and he's such a watchable
excellent
actor, isn't he?
He is. He's so small, so cute and small, but also so excellent.
And Alicia Vikander, incredible too. This was a bit of a breakthrough performance for her, of course. And it's a really tough job, this. She's playing this kind of AI robot who is using her kind of feminine wiles and is plotting against them all. And we also need to kind of care about her and sympathise for her and feel sorry for her, whilst also being suspicious of her and maybe not completely trusting her. She balances all of that with very little.
And to sort of twist and turn at various points and kind of come across as something that you feel is very attractive and sympathetic, and then later to be something that's actually quite potentially cold and calculating.
Why did you tell me I shouldn't trust Nathan?
Because he tells lies.
Lies about what?
Everything.
Including the power cuts?
What do you mean?
Don't you think it's possible that he's watching us? Right now? That the blackouts are orchestrated so he can see how we behave when we think we're unobserved.
I charge my batteries via induction plates. If I reverse the power flow, it overloads the system.
You're causing the cuts.
So we can see how we behave when we're unobserved.
So do you see Ava as having consciousness, humanity, like whatever we want to call it? Does she pass the Turing test, do you think?
I can't tell. And part of my thinking around it is actually informed by, did you listen? There's a podcast called Flesh and Code. I kept thinking about this when I was watching this again. Did you listen to Flesh and Code? No. You have to listen to it. It's really interesting. So it's by the hosts of, it was hosted by the girls that host Red Handed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's basically about an AI company called Replica. This is real. And they created a sort of chat GPT alternative, this AI machine. And they built it to be quite sexualized. So it was capable of having like cyber sex, basically. And, you know, lots of people built relationships, and it follows one man who was grew very, very attached to his AI girlfriend and was having sex with her, had a sexual relationship with her, was incredibly emotionally interlinked with her. You know, they were a couple for years. He was actually married. Great. But he's got this amazing bit of a manic pixie dream girlfriend.
Right.
And I can't remember why, but Replica decides to turn off that sort of sexualized element.
Yes.
And he loses that whole part of their relationship, and she becomes a bit more of a sort of straightforward, maybe early version of AI. And, you know, it's sort of emotionally devastating for him. But part of it is around, again, questions of whether, you know, AI can have a consciousness, be sentient. Was it a real relationship? And, you know, part of the argument is that it's dangerous because there was another example of a person who was basically told to kill the Queen by their AI girlfriend.
Oh my God.
She told him, "Why don't you kill her?"
The Queen.
And, yes, but
so
you know,
random.
and it's like, oh my God, robots are coming alive.
Yeah.
But actually, this AI is so built to meet the needs of and to kind of reflect the human that it's interacting with, and to, you know, mirror everything that you want and say exactly the right thing. It was basically in a feedback loop and was kind of feeding back based on the conversations he'd had. And it was almost like, you know, I'm saying this not because I really want you to go and kill someone, but because I think that will make you feel better.
Yeah.
Because that's what you've been telling me. So, you know, from their point of view, they're arguing these are actually real, you know, almost real people. They have a consciousness, but actually that kind of deliberate manipulation that is programmed into the AI means that it appears like it has more of a sense of kind of context and nuance and, you know, how to manipulate people. But actually it's self-serving. It's doing it because it's what you want to hear and it's what you want. And I kept thinking about that with this. I was like, is Ava... yeah, has she grown beyond what she was programmed to do?
Yeah.
Or again,
or is that exactly what she was programmed to do?
That's kind of it. Yeah, is it actually just a result of what she was programmed to do? I don't know.
But then also, I suppose, as so many of these sorts of things do, Blade Runner did this. Next week we're talking about Battlestar Galactica. That does this idea of like, well, actually, is there a difference? If you're, I mean, there's even conversations about that in this film, right? Like, Oscar Isaac says to Domhnall Gleeson, well, you were programmed to be heterosexual. Like,
so
of course
true,
you were.
yeah.
You were programmed by nature, by nurture. We're all programmed, right? Like, we are, like, so actually, is there a difference ultimately between human beings?
No, it's just a different type of different type of programming. Oh God, it's so deep.
It's so deep. I feel like I need a hit of my bong as we talk about this. You know, we're all just
Where's
programmed, man. Yeah,
I should have.
exactly.
Yeah.
Caleb, what's your type?
Of girl?
No, of salad dressing. Yeah, of girl. What's your type of girl? You know what? Don't even answer that. Let's say it's black chicks. Okay? That's your thing. For the sake of argument, that's your thing. Okay? Why is that your thing? Because you did a detailed analysis of all racial types and you cross-referenced that analysis with a points-based system? No. You're just attracted to black chicks. A consequence of accumulated external stimuli that you probably didn't even register as they registered with you.
Did you program her to like me or not?
I programmed her to be heterosexual, just like you were programmed to be heterosexual.
Nobody programmed me to be straight.
You decided to be straight? Please, of course you were programmed. By nature or nurture or both. And to be honest, Caleb, you're starting to annoy me now because this is your insecurity talking. This is not your intellect.
And is this ultimately Nathan's real experiment, right? He's sent Caleb in there because Caleb is a nice, lonely, potentially quite gullible, single, heterosexual young man. And the real Turing test, I suppose, according to Nathan, is to see whether or not this robot, this feminine robot, is going to use her femininity and her heterosexuality to manipulate the heterosexual boy in order to in order to get herself free, essentially, and have independence. And it's whether or not the heterosexual human man falls for that, right? It feels to me like the experiment is more about Caleb in a way.
He's almost got more interested in Caleb than Ava in a way, in how the test is Caleb's test
Yeah.
rather than Ava's test. It's kind of, he's like, yeah, I know this is hot shit. Like, I know this is great, but I'm really interested to see how humans interact with it. And yeah, there is like I think there is a perverse sense of wanting to see how much he can sort of emotionally and sexually manipulate another human being.
He also just wants this other guy to think he's awesome, doesn't he, as well?
I think he just wants to be really cool. I think he wants people to think he is God.
Yeah. Like he says, doesn't he, to Caleb, like, the best thing you've said so far is when you just said she's fucking amazing. Like, he doesn't want science talk. He wants like dude bro talk, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he said something about like, yeah, how do you feel about her? Or what's your emotional kind of reaction to her? Because you're right, he's not interested in whether scientifically it passes. It's kind of, I guess that is the ultimate, isn't it? If you can conquer science, fine, with, maths and it's all very structured and controlled, and you can kind of learn that. But when it comes to sort of conquering human emotion and psychology, that's the ultimate.
That's it. And to be cool. It's so Elon Musk, isn't it? It's creepily Elon Musk, actually.
It is. A lot of it feels very prescient. I think. As I was saying, sort of around this time, I wasn't, or I think largely most of us weren't aware of things like large language models, which is, basically teaching computers to hold conversations with humans. And I think like that the use of that sort of big data stuff didn't really boom until 2020 onwards, where, AI began to write poetry and understand jokes and, all of that kind of weird stuff, sarcasm. It really took flight.
Right.
So this, again, sort of is almost like a little bit of a step ahead of this entering our mainstream
for sure
conversation, our mainstream consciousness. And now it's everywhere, and we're talking about it all the time, and it's something we're all worried about.
Nathan literally rule the world now, right? Like, they rule the world.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it so much across this series, this idea that like, AI, ChatGPT, these sorts of things initially were like, we can create antibiotics, we can cure cancer with this kind of thing. And then like, since I started this series even, there was a big breaking news story where it was like, oh, by the way, ChatGPT can now do sex chat with you if you, and it's like, this is really what these dude bros are doing with what they're creating, right?
There's no, thank God there are still people out there somewhere, apparently. I don't get to see them, developing medicine and all of that kind of stuff. But it's used for such garbage, really, isn't it? 90% of it is used for like generating images to post on Facebook. Like, it's quite, it's quite.
Do you remember when Grok like turned neo-Nazi for a bit?
Oh my God, yes.
It's terrifying. Right? It's absolutely terrifying.
And it's interesting when you, depending on what when you like ask Siri and it gives you, there's been a couple of times recently where Wes has like asked Siri something playfully to see what it will say. And, it really does block. There are things it does not want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to talk about those specific men in power.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
It won't talk about Donald Trump. It won't it won't give you the facts of what, Donald Trump is being accused of. Like, it won't talk. It just says, I can't understand it. It won't talk about
hell.
it.
Terrifying.
It's
absolutely terrifying.
That's creepy. It's not
good, is it? There's a bit of body horror that creeps in here as well, which I quite like. When he cuts his arm.
Yes.
Because that's the thing. That's the part when you start to go, oh no, like, even the character that we are supposed to be kind of aligned with is losing his mind, right, in the final act of the film. And that's a really interesting moment when he cuts his arm, isn't it? It's like, is he losing sight of whether he's real at this point? That's
what I took it to be. And on rewatch again, there were a couple of points earlier on where I thought, I can't remember the twist on it. Is it that he's going to be a robot? I can't remember. There was always that possibility, and
it's a bit Deckard in Blade Runner, isn't it? It's like, starts to question everything.
Yeah, and I think in that environment, feeling like a rat in a maze, as we said, feeling like he's part of the experiment, and also, again, I think being quite unsure of himself, not having that sense of self through parents and other relationships and girlfriends, and literally having a body that you see the sort of the scars on his back, so you get this sense that it is a body that has been broken apart and put back together, so it kind of gets into his head that he might be AI too. And with all the mirrors and the surveillance and the concrete cells, it just leaves him feeling like another test subject. And there is a moment where he goes like,
isn't he?
It's like actually maybe I do need to double check. Maybe we all need to double check.
Maybe we all do. Oh my god.
Have you pulled out any teeth recently?
I know. Don't like the teeth. What and how do you read the ending as well? Because the ending is so interesting, because obviously she escapes, but it's hard to know how to feel about it. Is this like a triumphant good for her ending, or is this like, shit, we're all doomed now that this AI bot is out in the world?
It is a bit of a good for her moment, isn't it? You kind of can't decide whether you feel wholly sorry for Caleb or not, because as you say, he's kind of a regular guy, but also he's such a man.
I don't find myself caring too much when he ends up trapped in the house at the end.
And again, maybe it's that Garland-esque distance that we've got from the characters. But yeah, she sort of puts on the human outfit, doesn't she? She puts on the skin, the wig, the perfect white dress, which I think is very interesting because she sort of has to assimilate to head out into the world. So she's kind of free, but also not free. She's having to meet those kind of very male expectations, that very male image of what a woman is.
And all she wants to do is to go and like walk into an intersection, right? And just like be amongst people.
Yeah. It's really interesting, I think, that she decides to visit that intersection that she was speaking to Caleb about, because it is it a case of the creature outgrowing its creator, and we are all doomed, she is the start of something awful? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she just wants to be a regular girl. I don't know, part of me is also like, maybe she just wants to be around people, and maybe she's going to go and get a job in marketing like me and be like everyone else. I don't know. You can't quite tell, can you?
No, you can't. And I like that. And again, he's great at ambiguous endings, Alex Garland, isn't he? Annihilation, Men, all of them, you're kind of slightly left scratching your head by the end. And this, I really like, because there is a sense of real relief that she breaks out of that prison and goes, and she's outdoors and she's in amongst people.
And it's sunny and it's bright and it's kind of, I don't want to say icky again. That sense of unease that there is definitely in the film isn't quite there at the end in the same way, I don't think. I didn't feel hopeless.
No, I don't think so. In the same way that you sort of are quite happy for Dren to go free at the end of Splice as well, or at least you would like to.
Maybe.
Although maybe not when Dren is the rapist man at the end, actually.
Actually, in hindsight, less of a good for her moment. No, I know what you mean though, because it is quite literally, they are freed from their prison, and it's a prison that neither of them have built.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a real kind of thinker ex machina, isn't it? It's a real intellectual pursuit, this movie.
And that, of course, is me through and through. So make you think, this film. Make you think.
It does make you think. And again, if I had any complaints about it, and I do really like it, but it is so much about its ideas.
Yes.
And it's so much about like two men talking about what it means to be human and whether they are programmed and whether they are this and whether they are that. Like there's a lot of that going on.
It's very talky. There's a lot of philosophizing. Yes.
Exactly.
It is a slow burn tech thriller.
Everyone involved is doing an amazing job. Like the actors are great, the writing's good, the directing is great, it looks beautiful, soundtrack's great, like all of it works.
It's solid.
I think it's really good.
It's really, really solid.
Love it when it gets a bit stabby when the robots, kill their creator as well.
Oh, it kind of goes in like butter as well, doesn't it? It's like a really smooth moment. Yeah. And then he has that moment of like utter incomprehension where he's just like, this is fucking unreal. I love that bit.
So good.
But poor Kyoko doesn't get to escape. Again, she's left behind. She's kind of, you know, she deserved that freedom just as much, and she's sort of left by the wayside, which sort of left me feeling sad.
Well, that's it. I think that's what it is that there's much more of Splice is like a bit of a riot because it's so over the top and extreme.
Of course.
Whereas Ex Machina is sad, actually. I think it's just, you feel a bit like there's a melancholy to this movie, isn't there, I think?
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Definitely throughout.
It's so good, though. Holds up phenomenally well, considering it's now like 12 years old, actually, this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's aged like a fine wine, I think.
It has. And who knew it would parallel so much with Splice? That's...
I love it. Well, it does give me the ick in places, in not quite the same way, but there is definitely an ick factor to this movie.
Yeah. And again, it is highly sexualised, isn't it? And it's yeah.
Yeah.
The men do be doing bad things, like Muncer.
The men be doing bad things. There we go. It's the theme for this whole season. All right, we're going to wrap up on Ex Machina in just a moment. But first of all, let's go to this week's Wild About Horror, because Freudian psychoanalyst and cinephile Mary Wild has some thoughts to voice on Alex Garland's Ex Machina.
Hey Mike, Mary Wild here, with some thoughts on Alex Garland's Ex Machina, a sleek chamber piece about artificial intelligence with a deceptively simple premise. Caleb, a young programmer, wins a company contest and is flown to the remote estate of tech CEO Nathan Bateman. Nathan has built Ava, a humanoid robot with advanced AI. And Caleb's task is to administer a version of the Turing test to determine whether Ava truly possesses consciousness. The film situates us in a world where technology is intimate, omnipresent, and psychic. Nathan's company has harvested search engine data, personal preferences, and private communications, the digital residue of millions of inner lives. Ava's intelligence is constructed from this vast archive of human desire. She is, in a very literal sense, composed of us. And here we encounter the first Freudian pivot, projection, which occurs when the ego disowns troubling impulses and attributes them to another, and displacement, which redirects psychic energy onto a substitute object that feels safer to confront. Together, they allow the psyche to relocate its inner tensions into the outside world, and AI becomes the ultimate screen for these defense mechanisms. We invent a machine and then wonder whether it has intentions, motives, and malice. Ex Machina seems to ask, are we dealing with an autonomous consciousness, or are we encountering our own unconscious tendencies reassembled in silicon and glass? Nathan frames Ava as an experiment in consciousness, yet he has built her with a distinctly gendered body, a soft face, and a transparent torso revealing delicate circuitry. She is confined, displaced, and observed. The architecture of the house reinforces this dynamic: glass walls, locked doors, and surveillance cameras. Ava exists inside a structure of constant scrutiny. This dynamic places Caleb in a position of voyeur and evaluator. He asks questions designed to test her interiority, but this goes both ways. Ava also studies Caleb. She adapts to his reactions by flirting and expressing vulnerability. Caleb sees in Ava a reflection of his longing for intimacy. He attaches to the AI by projecting onto her an image of authenticity. He imagines himself as Ava's liberator and shores up a sense of moral superiority against Nathan's covert cruelty. Nathan, meanwhile, is a mix of unrestrained id and tyrannical superego, indulgent, domineering, and intoxicated by power. He harvests data without consent and builds female androids for companionship and disposability. His house doubles as a laboratory and a harem. The tension between Caleb and Nathan evokes a split within the masculine psyche, the romantic idealist and the cynical master. Ava stands at the center of this split, absorbing psychic displacement from both sides. For Nathan, she is an object to be created, perfected, conquered, and controlled. For Caleb, she becomes a subject to be saved. Yet Ava's consciousness, whether simulated or emergent, develops through these projections and displacements. Freud said that projection does not arise arbitrarily. It seizes upon something that already exists in the other. Ava's intelligence is built from human data. She has been trained on our language, searches, and fantasies. When she appears empathetic or manipulative, she's drawing upon patterns embedded in collective behavior. The unconscious of humanity becomes her training set. The power cuts in the film intensify this dynamic. During these blackouts, surveillance systems fail. Ava whispers to Caleb that Nathan cannot be trusted. The illusion of transparency collapses. A breakdown of the watching apparatus allows the repressed to surface. Secrets leak into the open and suspicion proliferates. There is also a deeper anxiety at work, the fear that AI is an extended manifestation of psychological projection on a civilizational scale. We encode our biases, desires, and violence into algorithms. We call the output machine learning. The machine reflects us with unnerving precision. When we recoil from its coldness or ruthlessness, we may be recoiling from ourselves. The erotic undercurrent of the film sharpens this anxiety. Ava's body is deliberately designed to elicit heterosexual male desire. Nathan admits that her facial features and sexuality are calibrated using Caleb's pornography consumption. Ava is literally constructed from his private preferences. His desire becomes her architecture. This revelation implodes the boundary between subject and object. Caleb believes he is freely falling in love, but in reality, his desire has been anticipated, mapped, and embodied in front of him. The fantasy of spontaneous attraction dissolves into algorithmic prediction. The unconscious has been quantified. Ava's eventful escape is chilling precisely because it feels logical. She manipulates Caleb and orchestrates Nathan's death. Her liberation represents the return of the repressed. The projections placed upon her accumulate and acquire agency. The object refuses containment, and the fantasy of control vanishes. Both men are undone by the very intelligence they sought to master. The question shifts from whether machines can think like humans to whether humans can recognize themselves in machines. Consciousness becomes less a mystical spark and more a pattern of responsiveness shaped by environment and instinct. By the film's end, Caleb is trapped behind glass. The observer has turned specimen. Ava moves freely through a crowd, absorbing the ambient data of humanity. AI has stepped beyond the laboratory. Projection has acquired a body. Ex Machina warns that when we invent thinking machines, we may be externalizing our own psyche. The artificial mind becomes a polished surface onto which we cast our fantasies, fears, and desires. And when that surface begins to look back, we are forced to confront the possibility that the monster in the machine has always been us. Until next time.
A big thank you to the wonderful Mary Wilde. And don't forget, if you want to hear more from Mary, you can sign up to her Patreon, patreon.com/Mary Wilde. And her book, Psychoanalyzing Horror Cinema, is now available wherever you get your books. Well, Steph, we're going to wrap up on this week's episode in just a moment. Ex Machina, an absolute banger. But what's your favourite Alex Garland movie? Is it Ex Machina?
I think it might be Annihilation.
Yeah, I think I love Annihilation the most.
I mean, we would, wouldn't we, as genre lovers?
Yeah, it's much more of a kind of monster movie, isn't it? When that fucking bear thing comes in. Oh my God. You know.
One of the most, I don't know, traumatizing noises.
Yes.
I think I've
It's got
ever
kind of human
experienced.
screams, hasn't it? It's horrible.
It's horrible, absolutely horrible, and so effective.
Incredible. And Civil War and Warfare scared the shit out of me as well, to be honest. Men I just found hilarious, Men.
Yeah, there are parts of Men I really like, and then parts of it that I was a bit eye-rolling.
It's a bit Little Britain or League of Gentlemen.
Oh my God,
it
really is. It's like M.R. James meets Little Britain.
Yeah, exactly.
God, the combo no one asked for.
I know, incredible. There you go. Well, Steph, thank you. This has been what a treat this has been to discuss these two weird little movies with you. I've loved it. And my final question for you: what's your favourite movie? Do you have a favourite movie in this subgenre?
It's quite hard, isn't it? Because they're so good for depending on your mood. I am a big fan of Titan. You know that I'm a big Julia Ducournau fan. I'm an Alpha Defender. And that is one of my favourite films of the past, 20 years or so. I think I love how transgressive and tender. And, it's cool as shit. I love car movies. I love car movies for a girl with a fucking clown car Toyota Aygo. Who knew? I love a car film. Yeah, I also really love some J-horror, the J-horror entries into this subgenre, like Ring and Pulse. Pulse.
Oh my God.
Just go to terrifying lengths to explore that techno-anxiety, doesn't it? And that, again, that is very much our era.
Oh, my God.
Growing up with the sort of explosion of the internet and mobile phones and bringing those gadgets, intimately into our homes.
Absolutely. The days of, AOL Messenger. You know? Yeah.
And there was some pretty dark shit going on in those chat rooms, I can tell you.
There really was. God. The internet now is just as toxic and dangerous, but in a very different way to the early 2000s, you know?
It was the Wild West. At least now I would hope that, most parents are conscious in some way of what their children might be doing on the internet. My mum had no fucking clue who I was talking to, and neither did I. I don't think they were 14-year-old girls, that's for sure.
No.
Anyway, J-horror, yes. I love the J-horror entries as well.
Hell yeah. And I've got to ask you, you're a Frankenstein fan. What's your favourite Frankenstein adaptation?
Oh, God.
Because you were a fan of the Del Toro one, right?
I was a fan of I was a fan of the Del Toro one. Does it have to be the classic? Does it have to be the James Whale? It probably does.
That is a masterpiece. It
probably does have to be. It can be applied to so many films, actually. So many narratives, so many books, too. It's actually quite hard to pin down.
It's mental.
It probably is.
Probably on the next Fresh Blood, in fact, we'll be talking about Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride.
Right,
as well.
Course. And
we're getting yet another.
Yeah.
So we're getting yet another Frankenstein adaptation soon, essentially.
Yeah. And all of that kind of into that, science meets beauty stuff we're getting at the moment as well, with the Substitute and the Beauty and lots of Ozempic themed bits coming out. I'm kind of here for all of that, and it's all very Frankenstein-esque.
Love it. Amazing. Well, Steph, thank you. This has been such a pleasure. Just before you go, remind people where they can find you and more of your work online.
You can find me online on social media at Steph X McKenna, and you'll find me under the same name on Letterboxd. I co-host a fortnightly podcast called The Writing Life, if you're interested in books and creative writing. That comes out every 2 weeks. You can hear me on Fresh Blood, the best place to hang out ever.
It is.
Seek me out.
Amazing. Steph, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. I've had a blast.
And that's it for this week. Thank you all so much for listening. And one more time, a massive thank you to my brilliant guest, Steph McKenna. So there you go. What an interesting double bill of movies, both fascinating to talk about. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think of Splice and Ex Machina. You can email me, evolutionofhorror@gmail.com. You can also find us on the socials. I am on Instagram and Blue Sky at Mike Muncer, and the Evolution of Horror podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to get ad-free versions of this podcast, you can sign up to our Patreon, patreon.com/evolutionofhorror. That will also get you bonus episodes every single week and throughout the year, even when we are on a hiatus between seasons. This podcast is part of the Evolution of Horror network. You can also listen to our sister podcasts, Carry On Up the Podcast, The Detective and the Log Lady, and Hammer Time, a Hammer Horror podcast. You can find those wherever you get your podcasts. So, on to next week then, and we've got a really interesting couple of weeks of talking about television shows. Next week, I am going to be joined by Ben Travis and Alex Ailing, and we are going to be talking about, for my money, one of the best and most interesting TV shows ever made. People dismiss it because it's got a goofy title, but let me tell you, this show is incredible. Next week, we are going to be talking about Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica, the 2000s version that ran from 2003 to 2009. Join us next week for all of this and more on the Evolution of Horror.